extend this thing quite a little while longer. And the question is, do you have to invest here? And the question is being answered because I think they're going to have to, as Gustavo's pooped way up into the air. Another poop goes the way of Godini, though. But even though this is becoming a potential losing effort, they are stalling this thing out exponentially.
I mean, it's still one of the most stallable points in the game. We've seen teams go from down 9-9-0 to swapping the point and going 9-9 to 9-9, not with a full team fight in between. And you immediately see Muziki and Barno come right back in and find two. Neil back on the Winston, gonna be there for a brief moment.
Yeah, and now the question is, what do? Owner has to try to die on this point. Pulse comes through, and now you get the quick reset, but you will have a realistic retouch here, but I don't know if Gustavo can go and get this touch over on the Cassidy.
It's going to be difficult for them to. I think you're more looking at Fearless maybe for a TP on the point, especially with the Photon Barrier online, and that seems to be the case here, but did they just miss the... I think they just missed the TP.
They missed the TP. They pulled it too early, and then they waited too long. They knew they were going to get booped. That's a scenario where you send one person like the Lucio that can, like, live through it, and then send everybody else. That is unfortunate timing, but unfortunately with what they had, Dex, it was the only way they had a chance of touching that point.
Oh, absolutely there. I mean, it was a very dominant point here from Ice. I mean, there's the 3K pulse bomb from Grillo, and Grillo didn't die that round actually there at all. However, one fun thing, if you look at the deaths here for Element Ice, in order, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. In order, which I think is kind of funny when you look at it, but it was a very dominant performance from them, and they looked like they knew what they wanted to do coming out of the gate. Element having kind of like what I said coming into this one here, we recognize some of the names on this team, but we still haven't seen a lot of them. It was going to be a big question to see how they were going to perform in this one, because you look at that DPS line for Element Ice, and man, is it maybe one of the scariest DPS lines in this region, outside of maybe those two that are on Piso Sour and Heist.
I think it's very worthwhile to talk about in a scenario like this how well they can do, and I think we saw it very much there in that last engagement. These are two that we haven't been able to see a ton. We've seen Grillo quite a bit. Burno, who I think was doing, while playing, was doing a lot more of co-streaming the last season or two, but now we get to play on what looks like a really good team, a team that I think has every reason to be in contention for potential top 4. We'll have to see how they do against other big teams in the future as well. But for Element Evan, again, it feels like they started to click, started to figure out something near the end there. Unfortunately, again, they get picked off early in a lot of fights, where it feels like once these fights go on for a while, they're able to stay in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of their success that last round, especially on Gardens, there was the fact that it was Neil that was kind of putting themselves in some bad spots, going for pile drives close to the edge of the map, and they were able to be punished twice there by Godini, which was a big boon there to Heaven. But they need to be able to kind of keep it up here. However, we do know our next map is going to be Midtown, and it's Heaven not wanting to see the Sojourn, and now Ice coming right back in with the Lucio ban in there as well. Very, very interesting bans coming out here for at least Ice at the moment, because that's I feel like you see Lucio get banned out a lot. I feel like Midtown, though, I feel like you see a lot of teams necessarily kind of go away from Lucio on this map in particular and go over to something a little bit more pokey, something with the Wu Yang, something maybe with the Zenyatta instead. Yeah, Lucio still gets played here because it's Lucio, but I feel like this is the one map where you see teams kind of go away from that there, as Grillo has disconnected from the lobby.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. We've had still some server issues. It feels like the game yesterday we were a little more blessed with good lobbies, but hopefully it's just something unrelated, and we'll get back to things very quickly. But no, it'll be fascinating to see, because when we're talking about Midtown, if you are going to have a conversation, make a tier list of difficult points to be able to fight through, this at least goes in your A tier right here. This is really difficult for some teams to get through, where I feel like I've casted so many Midtown games that ended in 1-0 fashion.
Yeah, I've seen games in 1-0 fashion. This is one of those maps where you hear a lot of people talk about you either get held on first point or you complete the map. Yeah, second point's difficult as well, but I feel like you see a lot less people get held on second point. You either get held on first point or you complete the map. I feel like I said, there is a little in between, but it's definitely, like you said, first point is very difficult to get through, and normally see teams kind of go to something with a Symmetra to be able to TP you into the second story of the Firehouse, which, hey, We did see Element Ice do that last game. We did see Element Heaven actually start bringing out that sim a little bit towards the back half of it there on Gardens, which I would not be surprised if we see here from them now, whenever heroes start to be able to get selected here, especially just because of how difficult it is here. But like I said, even with the Lucio being banned out, you now see Godini go over to the Iari, and you see Epivic on the Ana instead. Again, this is very much a poke map, and you see teams kind of gravitate towards those poke kind of supports. However, on the other side, Imotsuki showing us the cat and Goldfeather on the Zen. Like I said, Zen definitely a map you could see him on. Grillo, though, well, yeah, there it is, the Tracer from them. But no really big surprise outside of that.
Yeah, and this may seem wonky, but the thing is, at the end of the day, is they're more than happy to kind of play a little bit more of a poke style. I think they're very confident in that scenario, and they know you're going to enter a scenario where you're going to try to play a little more, you know, pokey in this scenario. We see the Sigma out here, which honestly, Owner, I'm excited to see this Sigma, quite honestly.
Yeah, I'm excited for it as well, but I think it's going to have a very hard time just going up against Neil, because Neil with the bubble going to be able to play around that. And again, if Owner just plays very close up to that shield, it's not going to get a lot of value there, as that Tesla can just going to be able to go right through it.
Yeah, the first step right there is getting rid of that Winston Force that's just kind of running you down. That's taking a bunch of space away from you. But the problem is you can give yourself a ton of space to work with. It doesn't necessarily guarantee success, as Godini and Fearless are already in a rough scenario. Neil has to back out, so they're kind of burning away more and more. Unfortunately, with Godini down, it's just going to be really difficult to pull back from. Gustavo doing their best to try to keep them in this one, though, best they can. But you just see the separation. It's becoming too much for them to deal with. Owner close to going down, and once they go down, this thing is truly over.
Owner, though, going to be able to get out with their life. They still have Gustavo here as well, so this could be a really quick re-engage here from Heaven, but they're going to lose with Gustavo, not the re-engage you were looking for already.
Yep, Neil will get out as well, and this is exactly how you wanted to play it. This is the way you want to go. Because, again, you don't want to have to take a direct engagement. You're going to have Neil just drop down and then back out the moment that they realize they're getting too much pressure.
Yeah. Absolutely here, but oh, look at that time back. Already half almost gone here right now, but Owner, especially with Neil playing so aggressive, needs to be able to find them, but still, you see that creature come out, just not going to be able to clean them up because of the bubble.
Yeah, but hey, Nano's going to be ready. Unfortunately, you can't throw it on the Fearless, and using it here, I think, is
Godini?
A decision. It's thrown on Godini, and that's going to get, unfortunately, it's going to get nothing. They're just going to get wiped out here. Grillo not even going to fall. That Nano realistically should have been safe for Gustavo.
It probably was meant for Gustavo or even Owner there. It just seemed like maybe a little bit of a mistake that was put onto Godini there. But still, that's only one ultimate down here now for Heaven. You still have 3 more coming up, but you look over at the other side. Grillo did use Pulse Bomb, but 4 of their ultimates as well online. Catnap might be the one that does not find the most about value there, other than just dragging someone away from the team right now. But Imotsuki could be able to get rid of that healing pylon pretty early on.
Yep, trying to right now. You see Override Protocol thrown into that back line. It's causing a lot of pressure already. Owner able to eat a majority of the damage, though, so nothing too bad going down. Fearless still goes down regardless, so now everybody is just caught up in a giant room, and unfortunately right now, this really is Ice kind of playing with their food a little bit, pushing everybody back. FX is going to get rid of Grillo, which is nice. Unfortunately, again, it's not going to result in anything.
Yeah, and right now, Ice is kind of showing us right now, this is a team that first time we're seeing them as this team, and they look very, very strong. And this is nothing against Element Heaven, but Ice is just coming out here, and like you said, kind of just playing with their food here a little bit. They know what they have to do here to kind of win these fights, and they know they have the ultimates really early on to do them. Final minute of this round, unless we see Heaven get something going here, and they have the ultimates to do it right now. This could be the fight you're looking for here if you're having to get going.
Yeah, definitely trying to right now. Lots of ultimates available. Goldfeather is going to be able to shut down Godini anytime this Captive Sun comes out. But to be fair, you almost want to use it to try to get the Captive Sun, or I should say, try to get the Transcendence out. But instead, here, Neil goes inside the room, has already gotten rid of 2. And with 30 seconds left on the board here, it is not looking good for Heaven.
Yeah, Override Protocol going to be coming out there from Gustavo, not going to be able to fight anything. That's almost an ultimate right there that if you're Heaven, you might have just wanted to have them hold on to, because you see Epivic coming up to their own Nano again. But you also have the Flux, you have Captive Sun. Godini, though, you throw out that Sun right now. Someone needs to be able to go get a touch, and it looks like Owner and Godini try to be those 2.
Yeah, they're going to try to get there as Immortality. Give it to everybody here with that Transcendence, and while you have touches coming through, A nano's available for effect, but it's just not gonna matter. They're gonna clear it out. No ticks available. As that is, man, that is domination from Ice. That is crazy.
Yeah, very much again. It's going back to what we saw kind of a little bit on the first point of Lijiang Tower, where we only saw 3 deaths. And hey, same thing this time around. 3 deaths. Granted, they're only crossed 2 people this time, Grillo and Neil. Grillo died twice, Neil died once. But again, I think we're just seeing how good this Element Ice team is here. They are just kind of walking through this series right now. Granted, we could see it change. We've seen series absolutely look like this before, where one team is very much dominated and the other team just finds one thing to give them a little bit of a spark, and you see them take it right back over here. But this seems to be that round here for Element Heaven. They need to be able to show us something here. Even if they end up losing this map, they need to be able to have at least drag it out 1, 2, 3, even maybe 4 fights at that point, because you're going to see Element Ice come back in here, run almost probably the exact same comp they're running on the defense side, on the offensive side. But you already see Burner going over to the legs instead. However, you look over at Element Heaven here. Owner going over to the Domina. Gustavo, I thought, did a good job on that. Emre, they just need to be able to find some more value with some picks early on in fights. But you have a very easily punishable composition coming out there from the other side, especially if you can get rid of Goldfeather and Imozuki out early on. That's going to slow down a lot of what Ice wants to do.
Yeah, it's a ton of what they want to do. And remember, for Ice, it only needs to work once. It's all it takes. Going here, you get that pick. Either the snowball will realistically go from there. But we'll see what Element Heaven can do in this scenario, pulling out the Domina, which again, I think the Domina does have a lot of strength. It's still a really highly played tank for really good reasons on top of that. But right now, everyone needs to kind of protect their head a little bit. You can afford to play safe here, as Grillo is looking for some targets, hasn't found one quite yet.
Imozuki just carried Goldfeather across the map to the point.
Yeah, and they're gonna eventually touch, and Gustavo's able to get rid of one, gets traded out immediately. FX wins in the backline with the 1v1, but that doesn't mean it's dusted right here. Big sleep, though, coming through there for FA to be able to clean things up, and now, for now, they can stabilize for a second.
Yeah, and again, this is a little bit of, again, going back to what you said, Element Ice maybe playing with their food a little bit, a very interesting idea coming out, and almost ended up working out for them here. But this is what you needed here if you were Heaven, just to get something going.
Yeah, and unfortunately, they just don't work together well enough to kind of shut down the cat right there. They're going to stay alive, and with Wonder down, it's hard to believe they can clutch this one up. They got to try to get another touch here on board. That they will not find. The Fearless finds too, but it just doesn't matter. No one retouches.
Yeah, no one able to retouch there. And Element Ice trying to speedrun the series at the moment. 2 dominant maps so far. We'll be heading to a third one, and we already know what that third one is, as Element Heaven has decided that's going to be Esperanza. And Winston going to be their ban. Hunter, we might already have the lobby ready to go by the time the play of the game is done.
Yeah, legit. Like, I have to immediately go and start swapping stuff now in the thing just to make sure I'm ready to go for this. Yeah, Winston banned out. Yeah, they are legit trying to speedrun this. That is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, hey, late night here. It's not 9:30 was the start time for us. Where this is going on, at least in Brazilian Standard Time, or that's what the South American time zone that they're playing in. It's 10:30. Yeah, it's Thursday night, and we're so close to the weekend, but still, it's 10:30. People are tired. They want to get this done fast. Element Ice is at least helping that out a lot here by being dominant throughout these first 2 maps. Esperanza, though, is an interesting one because me and you have definitely seen this map a lot in the past. 50-50 Overwatch is a very common thing here. Tracer going to be the second ban coming out here from Ice now. And again, immediately into lobby. But I mean, 50-50 Overwatch is definitely a thing on Esperanza, but you also just have to look at this as something where Element Ice, they want to keep up this dominant play, and getting off to, or being able to sweep the series here gets them off to a really good start this season. They would have won 3 of their first 4 games, technically, if I'm reading this, if I remember what their record is. And that would be a very, very good thing for any team to do, not only in this region, in any region.
If any region would be phenomenal to see. And for Ice here, it could be an extremely quick night for them here in this game to set them off, again, on a good foot moving forward, because it's a team that, again, needs to continuously get off on good footing for what they have kind of waiting for them in the future. Again, they have some of those tough games coming up. Again, they have a big game coming up tomorrow that they need the momentum for. Let's make that very clear as we get out the gate here and nothing solid until we get out the gate. But honestly, Neil being on Hog, it just wouldn't surprise me, honestly.
No, it wouldn't surprise me either. I mean, they're playing right now, like you even said, a little bit. They're playing with their food. They're playing overly confident, which I don't blame them. They've been doing incredible. But you look over at Heaven. This is a really, I think, good comp, a standard comp. It's just solid comp all around. Emre really strong. At the moment, you have that Zarya Vendetta, and then you have the standard backline. And now you also see that coming out here from Ice as well. Just they don't have that standard backline without the Kiriko. There's instead deciding to stick Goldfeather on this Ana instead. So Fearless might have a target here to really be able to dive upon here.
Yeah, might just. Fearless versus Grillo over on the Vendetta will be fascinating to see. Grillo is actually going to be the first one to go down, so possibilities working out here for Element Heaven as they need to keep trying to burn Neil, force him out of there. Eventually you see the slide will come from Burno, and for the moment being, they take this first fight away as Neil needs to get out of there.
Imozuki needs to get out there as well. Neil finally going to be able to fall down, but I think they got help from a lot of the members there of Heaven. Imozuki, again, playing with confidence, playing maybe a little bit over-aggressively on that Lucio, going to be barely able to get themselves out, but Grillo back into the fight and gone from the fight.
Yeah, weird trade. Both Vendetta's gone. Neil is just kind of trying to focus on staying alive, has the care to be able to do so, but as things are, Neil's going to move in really aggressively on FA. Like, extremely so, and now Neil's just going to move forward, wipes away two already. Gudini is just hanging above the point. Honestly, no reason to, like, extend it any further as they'll get taken out here a little late.
Yeah, Burnham going to find them. Gustavo now running for their life. Going to be able to get some healing now from that health pack and now the rest of their team. But you immediately just say, okay, guys, remember the bot. Thank you. Thank you, Burno. But you immediately just see Ice, again, just want to play aggressive. This is one thing we've seen them do a little bit in the past, but they normally been kind of cautious with it. They don't want to be over-aggressive because that's really when it's led to Heaven finding their most value so far this series.
Yeah, now you're coming up on a Graviton Surge. Owner is just way behind in comparison as, again, you take an early trade out, you lose out on the Zarya 1v1, and they're going to be forced back even further. Neil, very much not afraid of death, by the way. Was aggressively pushing with a single bubble with 50 health.
Yeah, and you have to remember, Goldfeather trying to heal them up here a little bit, but Neil just trying to play a little bit of frontline offense right now. You will see the point cap come out here now from Ice, just over 2 minutes into this map. Really quick time bank, really quick cap here, especially considering we have seen teams really win the first fights before and still not cap it as fast there. But now you have Nano ready to go here for Goldfeather. However, again, Fearless going after the backline, gonna be able to find Goldfeather.
Yeah, puts them in a decent position here. Still need to find a little bit more of something. Grillo's looking, eventually just find a couple of potential targets as Gustavo gets burnt down immediately by the effort of the two. But Fearless, more than happy to come in there, cut some bodies down. They're going to send this thing back the other way, but forward spawns will stay active as Neil, he's got the die on the point. He's trying to take Owner with them. They'll be able to do so as it's just Houdini with Neil, as eventually they're going to get some help. Will take care of them. That's a messy fight, but they will take it away.
Yeah, and honestly, right now, someone from Ice actually needs to go and stop this. But actually, no, Neil gets the taxi there with Burno. They caught the bus in that spawn window. A huge play from them, because if they didn't, they would have been getting those initial spawn points with that. But look, the ultimate's coming online here, Hunter. About to have everything ready to go here for Heaven, and technically, they're only one fight away from being in the same spot that, well, Ice is in.
Yeah, another scenario of Fearless getting the opening pick, by the way. And now you've used your sound barrier on top of this as well, which means as you let sound barrier go here, Burno can stay alive a little while longer. Neil is going to have a Graviton Surge ready. He's going to think about it, but obviously just no right to pull it here. They're just going to stall on cart. And this stall right here should be able to open up the opportunity for them to potentially retouch one final time, but that is if they get on the cart, please. I beg of you.
Guys.
Oh, please.
Thank you,
Please,
Fearless.
thank you.
Okay, they should still be able to get forward spawns off of that. It would have been a nightmare if they didn't. And like I said, with all the ultimates they had there, both teams actually really expended a lot into that fight there. You have both Sundering Blade and Grab ready to go now for Ice, but you have Grab and Kitsune Rush ready to go here for Heaven. Kitsune Rush, I imagine, can be thrown up here pretty early by Epic.
Yeah, and unfortunately, everyone thrown in, and with no Grab, I mean, they're just done. It's over. It's cooked. And unfortunately, Fearless is so far in the back right now. And with that, everyone's going to get forward spawn still somehow, actually. Wow.
Yeah, everyone's going to be able to get those, and they still have that grab and that Kitsune Rush on that side. However, you still look over at Ice. Sundering Blade online for them. Goldfeather and Burno, they could build up to those ultimates pretty quickly here, so be ready for that. But you need something early on here if you're Heaven. You're still very much in this map, and there's still a lot of time to go as that backline already getting dove on.
Yeah, and Fearless going in there. You're going to catch on to quite a few right here. You're clearing out bodies, but Sundering Blade comes through, doesn't get rid of anybody. Grillo has 4 health, will not be able to get out. It's just Burno with a little bit of Goldfinger trying to hang in there. Eventually will not be able to. But remember, they capture the forward spawns. Everyone's going to get them. But Burno looks like they're going to miss out. As actually, Goldfeather's going to too. Wow.
Yeah, but those two missing out aren't necessarily the worst because they can get to the point pretty quickly. However, Neil's now a little bit too far pushed up here, and this Kitsune from Epivic is really going to be able to propel Heaven forward here pretty quickly, and they could be putting themselves in a spot here to take the lead. Gustavo not that far away from that living weapon as well.
Yeah, Grillo going up in the air, and they're starting to make some more space. A few meters away from potentially turning this thing back around. Grillo is able to cut down Houdini, though. They're still hanging around in the backline, but everyone is slowly but surely beginning to fall over. They're hanging in there somehow, some way. Everyone's set like 1 health, but eventually they'll fall over. Lead has been taken, and now Heaven, for the first time in the series, have the leg up.
Yeah, and they're building upon it right now. It's going to probably be about 20 meters by the time you actually see anyone from Ice even get going here. And this is exactly what I was talking about. This is what Element Heaven needed. They need to have a couple fights go their way, and I feel like Fearless on this Vendetta has been the answer to that. They've been causing a big problem to this backline.
Yeah, they will. Sound Barrier going to be used. Again, trying to keep them alive. It's going to come back later with that Grubber's on Surge. But to be fair, when you're a scenario like this and Gustavo gets rid of another, they're going to keep cutting down bodies. Grillo, again, manages to get their 1, is hoping to get their 2nd, but they're forced back, and now this has gotten out of control quickly.
Very much a 50-meter lead now here for Heaven, and you can see that confidence that we have not seen from them in those first 2 maps. It is definitely here, and Ice is making mistake after mistake, it seems like.
Yep, Sundering Blade is available. Maybe everything pulled a little too early, but you see the separation over on the Neil. They are taken care of, and now it's potential desperation just coming through. Mizuki trying to get through, eventually going to be burnt down. There's a few members remaining, and this was looking like it was starting all Ice, but Heaven takes it back over, bring us to a 4th map, and oh my god, they got that dog in them.
Yeah, they really do, and something I wasn't expecting from Heaven there, but like I said, all they needed was one thing to go their way. That's what they needed, and they got it here. There was one thing that kept on constantly happening in this map to Ice that Heaven was able to do time after time after time again, and you really have to talk about how Fearless was playing that Vendetta. They were always going after the backline, causing so many problems there to Ice. They were always playing split. And granted, yeah, you kind of want to play split on a map like Esperanza, but Ice just got punished time after time after time again here. I mean, I'm looking at the support line here. Goldfeather and Imozuki both died 6 times. Grillo, who had really only, I believe, died once this entire series before this map, died 7 times. I mean, you saw everyone here from Ice have their worst map. Well, Element Heaven, on the other hand, had their best, and we already are ready for map number 4, which we know is going to be Watch Point Gibraltar, and Diva and Ana are going to be banned out here. So the Diva being banned out by Ice, Ana being banned out by Heaven, and that actually is a really good play there by Heaven. You have been seeing Goldfeather kind of just exclusively run that the Ana these last 2 maps and be able to find a decent amount of value on it. Diva being banned out, this is just smart. I think you want to try to force a Neil back onto that Winston, because you kind of saw them start off on Winston on one of the maps before and did have some success. Or no, you saw them play Winston on Midtown, but this is a completely different map. They only needed to cap 1 point there on Midtown. This is a little bit different because they need to go a long way, as it's going to be still attacking first here, Heaven.
Yeah, and we saw, again, how much they struggled before, but we'll just have to see what we kind of get out here right now. We're seeing the Winston mirror to get things started away. Fearless over on the Widow. It will be fascinating to see them over on it, though, quite frankly, because that, while it is kind of hit and miss, as we're seeing them just, yeah, good anybody, I'm not taking you seriously yet. I'm picking every support under the sun.
Cycle through the entire support line, or support category. And you know what? Give us Jetpack Cat. Give us the attack helicopter. Why not? But I mean, right now, again, this is Heaven. They have some momentum on their side, and if you're Ice, you have to ask yourself, like, what happened there? that last map. It seemed like once they kind of lost the lead, they were never able to get any momentum back because they were always staggering themselves out there. And oh, Neil, you can't miss that jump, man.
Yeah. Kind of a weird one to miss, but no harm, no foul, thankfully, as you're seeing Neil kind of pressure this corner a little bit until the opportunity comes, because while you do have the tracers, with the way Fearless was playing, you kind of want really to be able to have the independent 1v1 and kind of take that momentum that it feels like Fearless really took away in that third exchange.
Yeah, and again, Fearless played an incredible map last night. I think that Vendetta was a big reason why Heaven ended up coming on top here, and we need to see that kind of same performance come out here from this Tracer very early on, but they have to get through Neil here on this point.
They have to. Trying to do their best to be able to. I think having the Freya out there is a good way to potentially do it, but you need to keep pressuring on multiple angles. I know it's difficult in the scenario at hand, but you're forced back, and Fearless down, no more pressure. Neil can drop down extremely safely, and you're already running into... I think this is the exact same problem you had on Midtown.
It very much is here. Now, as you see Neil go jumping off the point there, it's actually going to be Emozuki, who is punishable here, but barely gets out with their life. But again, you're looking for a very coordinated dive coming out here from Heaven. You need to focus on one person and one person only. However, very difficult to figure out who that one person is going to be onto ice. It's most likely going to have to be Burno, but they can just automatically punish you.
Yeah, right away they can. We do see some pressure over on that high ground, though. Owner, though, is just in too deep. It's going to be forced out. And now, minute and a half down already, and it is already feels like such a desperate situation.
But right now, all that Heaven needs to do is kind of just restabilize here. You're going to have a Bola shot. You're going to have Kitsune. You're going to have Pulse Bomb ready to go very early on. However, you look over at the other side, Pulse Bomb, Override, Pro Recall, and their own Kitsune are going to be online. So dueling Kitsune is definitely something you see here in this fight. Again, Heaven just needs to find that pick here. They need to be able to get rid of someone. They need to be able to force some peel to get the cart rolling. They need that here early on. Nice boot by Emozuki, denying Owner that high ground spot.
Yeah, and now, again, they're finding no progress. It feels like you just have to go take a fight up here and force out some ultimates or find somebody out early. If you don't, I don't know what you're going to do here. Pulse Bomb comes out, doesn't catch on to anybody, but Grillo is taken care of. So this is your biggest opening coming through, but Neil doesn't want to let it end right here. He's going to let go of that Primal Rage. Fearless is in a weird scenario, getting chased down momentarily. He's going to keep running away. He's getting chased by the Winston. Eventually they will fall over, but if you're Element Ice, that is such a success of a hold on that corner.
Oh, it very much is. You got rid of 2.5 minutes, but you look over at Heaven here. Still have both their support ultimates here ready to go. You're going to have beat if you're Ice and that Override Protocol, so you're not necessarily out of this fight, but you could see Heaven here start to play aggressively again. That's what really worked for them last map. They need to keep that aggression level up because it seems like Ice really struggles against it.
Ice 100% does, and now Burno gonna try to find a little bit of success, and success is what they will indeed find. FA down early, and now everyone forced to get back further and further. Double stick over onto Burno isn't gonna be enough, unfortunately. Now you gotta reset, because with 45 seconds left, I think you're already talking about Final Fight territory.
Oh, you're definitely in Final Fight territory right here, especially if Godini is not able to get out with their lives, but they're going to be able to do that. Fearless, though, has to use that recall, but now they're kind of in no man's land as Emozuki going to be able to find them. This needs to be the complete and total reset now. No one should really still be where they are right now if you're Heaven.
Yeah, you see Emozuki still staying in there, booping around. Get a sound barrier ready for this fight. Now, Godini, luckily, does have a response in hand, but the only other thing you have on top of that, they are going to realistically have is that Pulse Bomb coming online from Fearless, and it needs to find the perfect target as they're currently in the 1v1 situation with Grillo, both forcing each other out, and now you have to worry about, hey, who's your touch right here? And for the moment, it looks like it's going to have to be Owner, as you're going to have to see the Pulse Bomb thrown out. Doesn't find anything. Neither of them going to right now as you take a trade, but Godini needs to throw the Cyber Arrow now, but it's too late to keep Fearless up, and now you're looking at a full hold situation. It's a 3v4. Neil's coming back into the fight. They're going to have the retouch coming in here momentarily, as they just have nobody that can sustain on this point, Dex. And right there, that is going to be your full hold.
It's going to be a full hold, but I mean, very, very close there for Heaven towards the end. They were able to find that trade. And while, yeah, you would have loved to have Owner still a part of that fight there. Grant, you would have really loved to have Owner part of that fight if you were Heaven. You got rid of Emozuki on the other side, who had the beat ready to go. I mean, you had to kind of take that even down a tank and start to play a little bit more aggressively there. Granted, you got a little bit of a benefit considering everyone from Ice just kind of backed out a little bit, giving you almost essentially that first point there. Just barely you missed, I believe. I think it's what, 86 meters to the first point. You barely missed it by just under 2.25 meters right there. However, it's going to be very difficult here for Heaven to kind of match what Ice did on their defensive hold. You have to just kind of play this traditionally here. You just play the high ground until you have to fall down. But after that, if you play it like that traditional style where you see a lot of teams just engage into the fight once that card gets to the bottom of the valley, you really put yourself into a spot where if you lose one fight, well, that's most likely probably the map here. So you have this very fickle game. You have to play do you just try to do the same thing Ice did, or do you try to play it the traditional style and just hoping that you're going to be able to kind of keep up a lot of momentum here? However, coming out of the gate, not a surprise what we're seeing from Heaven. On the other side, not really a surprise either. Burno on the Hanzo is interesting for a moment, but it might just be for a sonar arrow and then swapping over to the Mizuki themselves here. I don't think they want to fall into the mistake that they did last map where maybe they played with their food a little bit too much and put themselves in a bad spot and gave Heaven some momentum that they were able to carry on through the entirety of that map.
And for the moment, Burno is kind of hanging around the Hanzo. Why not? You find that headshot again. It could be as simple as that. Plus, you have so much Burbage on Owner, who's already down. Now, you've lost his first choke already. Everyone else needs to get out immediately. And that's devastating.
And the disengage is not there from everyone. You have Evervic, you have Godini, who, I mean, they do find one, but Burno gave able to shut down Gustavo. This should be a really big fallback here from them, but no, instead they're just kind of staying up, and Fearless could be stalling out this cart for as long as they can, but eventually, they will eventually fall here. And now it's just going to be up to Owner and Evervic to really just hope that the rest of their team gets here in time for essentially a final fight.
Yeah, it is final fight. Now you have 3 minutes here. Way more time than you would hope to have in a scenario like this, and now you're gonna have the initial touch coming through. Gustavo is getting pelted immediately in the back line. Just gets chased down for free. No one's stopping Neil. They're gonna walk through, and now it's just a matter of time to clear out some of these bodies. Neil, with all the care in the world, all you can do is hope and pray, but the prayers do not care. As that's the quick tech there from Element Ice. They will win in 3-1 fashion.
Yeah, and a very dominant series for them if you just get rid of Esperanza. Really, it seemed like Element Heaven was able to figure them out there on that map, and Element Ice was just never able to kind of get settled on it. And you have to remember the bans for that map were Winston and Tracer, who we definitely did see have a big emphasis for both teams, especially Element Ice, in our final map for the night there on Watchpoint. But outside of that, Element Ice looked like the team that I think both me and you kind of expected to see. Element Heaven, though, I will give them props. They won that one map. They almost got some. They really almost started making me a believer because they looked a lot better on Esperanza, but they got better throughout this entire series. I think that's one thing we can really say about them. However, Watchpoint Gibraltar, you kind of mentioned there a little bit, they fell back into the same ways that they were falling into on Midtown, where they just kept on trying to do the same thing over and over and over again. And Element Ice was able to basically punish them until they decided to step a little bit too far forward.
Yeah, and it's a really unfortunate way that it works out for them there, because we see what they can do. They pull it back from being down like it was like 12 meters to like 60 something. They pull it back and they full cap in one big burst. It's a phenomenal display, and it's really unfortunate that we didn't really see any of that in the other three maps. And it's compelling because you know now, hey, they're capable of that. But are they going to be able to start producing that on a more consistent basis? Now, granted, they've had a couple of really tough games done here early. They have a couple coming up against teams like Ragnarok, like Fallen Eclipse, where maybe this is their opportunity to bounce back, because even this early, nobody's out yet. It's so early to where anything can happen, and the best thing you can do is focus on, hey, what comes next? Let's focus on this game and try to capitalize off of what we just did there on Esperanza, because if you can go out there and do it to Element Ice, I guarantee you could do it to most of the teams in this division.
Yeah, and one thing that both me and you know this region for is some chaos here. We could see teams that really got off to a struggle to start the season just come alive towards the back half of it and somehow be in that conversation for playoffs towards the end of it. And I think Element Heaven, they have a good core here. I mean, they do. They have a core here that I was very impressed with as it went on. Those first two maps, again, not the best performances, but Esperanza and I think Watchpoint, they still gave us a decent amount there to say like, hey, I have some faith in this team to be able to kind of bounce back. Like you said, A lot of tough games to start the season for them. They have some winnable ones, though, coming up. You talked about Fallen Eclipse. We'll be seeing them tomorrow as they take on Factor X, as they just made some roster changes as well there. So that should be a really fun game tomorrow at 6:30 EST, 7:30. I'm going to just say Brazilian time.
Yes.
Or South American time. So that should be a really good series against two teams that are trying to, I think, correct their seasons or right the ships and try to get themselves going the right way here. But Element Ice, again, 3-1 after your first 4 games done. You have one more game tomorrow, which I don't remember who they're playing, but still, this Element Ice team, like you said, Hunter, at the start of the series, definitely could be in those talks for playoffs. They could be that 3rd seed. They could be that 4th seed. I think they might even have something to say to both Piso Sour and Heist here. They have a solid lineup. They really do. I think this might be one of the sleeper teams here in this region.
Yeah, I definitely think it's worth calling them that, especially when we're in a scenario where it is top 4, so it is a little more difficult to be in that position. So we'll have to see how they progress. It's going to be exciting. Again, things ending a little more quickly for this region as they have less games. They happen a little bit quicker. We'll have to see how they kind of progress from here. But you said about that game going on tomorrow with Fallen Eclipse and Factor X. That should be a great one. We have some fun with North America as well with Foxhound and Ex Oblivione. It's going to be a very fun day tomorrow. But when it comes to tonight, that is indeed our evening. As fast as a 4-map series can be, it already feels pretty late right now, and there's a lot to come for this weekend. So, hey, we appreciate y'all being here, coming out for this game, and hopefully you join us for tomorrow's double feature. But if not, please have yourself a good weekend. Join us next time for some more Faceit League action. Take care.